Welcome to the Global WarWatch Network. Today, we're talking about something huge happening, almost in secret, at the very top of the world. It's a massive military construction project, and it's completely changing the game on one of the most contested borders on the planet. But hey, before we get into all the details, do us a quick favor. If you're into understanding the real story behind huge global shifts like this one, go ahead and hit that subscribe button. That way, you won't miss a thing. All right, let's jump right in. Get this. China just built 16 new high-altitude bases near India. And believe me, the scale of this expansion is far more serious than anyone expected. We're talking about analysis of over 100 satellite images, and what they show is just staggering. This isn't just some minor upgrade. No, this is a total rewrite of the strategic playbook, and it's way bigger than anyone initially thought.
Okay, so to really get our heads around what's going on here, we have to talk about the sheer scale of this thing. I mean, don't just picture a few scattered bases. Think of it more like a connected network of fortresses, all built at the roof of the world.
So what's the magic number? 16. That's the one to remember. We're talking 16 new or seriously upgraded airfields and heliports. It's basically creating this dense web of air power, sitting right on top of that contested border. But here's the part that's just wild. The altitude. Most of these new bases are sitting way up there, above 14,000 feet. Now, to put that into perspective, the air up there is incredibly thin, plane engines struggle, getting lift is a nightmare, and the human body just does not want to cooperate. Building and operating in that kind of environment, it's not just hard, it's an extreme challenge, both for engineers and for people. And it's a challenge China seems absolutely determined to conquer. And it's not just about paving long runways either. They've also built more than 70 hardened aircraft shelters. Now, when I say shelter, don't think of a simple hangar. No, these are basically reinforced concrete bunkers. They're built to protect their most valuable jets and drones from a surprise attack. And what does that tell you? It tells you they're not just visiting. They plan on parking their best stuff right on the front line, ready to launch at a moment's notice. You know, when you look at the satellite photos, the details are just incredible. We're seeing runways that are almost 15,000 feet long. That's nearly 3 miles. You need that kind of length for heavy planes to get airborne in that thin mountain air. And to build them, they're literally leveling entire mountain slopes just to get a flat piece of ground. The really critical part, key bases, like the one at Lunze, are already finished. This confirms it's not for some temporary mission. This is permanent infrastructure built to house everything from fighter jets to drones to huge transport planes. So the big question is, why? Why go through all this trouble? Why spend all this money on such a difficult project? Well, the answer really goes back to a single deadly border clash, one that revealed a major weakness China knew it had to fix, and fast. Remember the Galwan Valley clashes back in 2020? For Beijing, that was a huge wake-up call. It showed them in very stark terms just how painfully slow and hard it was to move troops and supplies on the ground in that terrain. So, what was their response? A complete pivot. They decided to pour resources into this airbase project to gain something their ground forces never could: total and persistent air dominance over the Himalayas. So you see, this network is way more than just concrete and asphalt. It's really a launch pad for a whole new suite of military powers. Let's talk about what this new plateau power actually lets them do. A huge piece of this puzzle is drones. Unmanned systems are absolutely central to this strategy. They're deploying some of their most advanced stuff up there. You got the WZ-7 Soaring Dragon, which is basically their permanent eye in the sky, just watching everything all the time. Then there's the GJ-11 Sharp Sword. That's a stealth combat drone. It's designed to sneak in and hit targets precisely without being easily seen. And you've also got the workhorses, the CH-4 and CH-5, which can stay up for a really long time to spy or strike. And the best part for them? They can do all of this without putting a single pilot's life at risk. This really gets to the heart of the new reality up there. I mean, look at this. What used to take days of just grinding along terrible mountain roads can now be done in a matter of hours. China can now rush troops and even armored vehicles right to the front line. They can keep a constant drone surveillance blanket over the area, and it means they can react to or even start an incident with incredible speed. It is a total game changer. Of course, all the fancy tech in the world doesn't mean much if you don't have the people who can operate it. And China knows this. They're investing a ton in the human side of the equation, creating these specialized units they called the Plateau Eagles. We're talking about pilots, technicians, and ground crews who go through insane training just to be able to function up there. They have to use supplemental oxygen and go through all sorts of conditioning to handle that oxygen-starved air. They are literally being engineered for this extreme environment. So when you add it all up, the concrete, the tech, the specialized troops, it's having a massive impact. It is actively, right now, shifting the entire military balance of power that has existed in the Himalayas for decades. You know, for the longest time, India's best defense in this region was the region itself. The Himalayas were like a giant natural fortress wall. It was just too hard to operate there on a large scale. But China's new strategy is aimed squarely at tearing down that wall. By building this network of bases, they're making high-altitude air operations the new normal. They're turning that natural barrier into their own personal launch pad. So as you can imagine, India is watching all of this with, let's say, growing concern. And they aren't just sitting on their hands. New Delhi is racing to catch up. They're pushing their own infrastructure projects, expanding their own airbases like Neoma and Leh, and beefing up their air defenses and spy gear to try and counter what's happening just across the border. So what does this all boil down to? We are watching a fundamental shift happen in real time. For 100 years, the rules of conflict in the Himalayas were written by Mother Nature, by geography. Now, those rules are being completely rewritten by technology, steel, and concrete.
And this really says it all, doesn't it? Winning in the Himalayas used to mean holding a mountain pass. It was about boots on the ground. That's not the game anymore. The new game is about controlling the sky above those passes, and you do that with drones, with hardened shelters, and with thousands of feet of runway.
And that really leaves us with a pretty profound question, not just for this region, but for everywhere. When your technology is so good it can literally flatten mountains and conquer geography, what's the next barrier? What becomes the next battlefield?
Well, that's all the time we have for today. Thanks so much for joining us here at Global WarWatch Network. If you got something out of this breakdown, the best way to support us is to hit that like button, share this with someone, and of course, subscribe.
But we really want to hear from you. What are your thoughts on this? Drop a comment down below and let's get a conversation started. And hey, join us over on social media too. All the links for that are right there in the description. We'll see you on the next